So without much ado, I would like to invite to the stage Paul Miller, who is the CEO of Logique, Kane, who is also the CEO of Origgin, and then Fui Fiajo, he's a business development person, and lastly, Nelson Amo. Hello. So hopefully by the end of this discussion, we are all going to have a clear idea of what it would be to be able to access funding for an SME. So firstly, I would like Paul to introduce himself and then tell us about his experience and what he currently does.
I think you already said my name. My name is Paul. I worked pretty much my entire career in Silicon Valley. I moved back home, I've been 5 months now, to focus building two startups. So my first startup is Sika, which is supposed to be an online payment platform. We're looking to launch it later next year. And of course, Logique, which is a boutique-style incubator and accelerator based here in Accra. We're also building our own suite of products within the company itself. So that's sort of what moved me back home.
Okay, thank you very much. Kane,
Yes.
could you tell us a bit about yourself, your experience, and what you do currently?
Hi, so my name is Kane. I'm the CEO of Origgin. So what we do at Origgin is basically we are a technology company. We run 5 divisions. So we primarily do enterprise software for the banks, insurance companies. We have a set of consumer products. Some of the popular ones are Watch Locator and ePrepaid. We have a payment gateway for our insurance and bank solutions. We started the company in 2010, and from my university room at NAFT, a year down the line, I dropped out of school of uni to focus full-time on building the company. And we've grown a company to where we are today, and it's been a wonderful journey.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Nelson.
Hi.
Could you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your experience and what you do currently?
Okay. Hi, everyone. So I'm Nelson from Innohub Limited. We basically run an accelerator program where we put companies through structured program. Basically, how do you help them to become investment ready and connect them to various funding sources? We also did investment in about 4 companies last year, and we recently working with a partner to set up a new fund to invest in the missing middle in Ghana.
Okay, thank you very much, Nelson. Mr. Fiajo, Fui Fiajo, can you tell us a bit about yourself and what your experience and what you are doing currently?
Okay, so the name is Fui Fiajo. Currently work with Nosme Company Limited. Nosme is an SAP partner for Ghana. Apart from that, what we also do is that we are a security company, and in addition to that, we are also ISP. Okay, I've worked in the tech space. I've worked with Rankard in the past, where we did mobile financial services, and I've worked in the banking industry as well. So that's about it. Yeah. Okay.
Wonderful. So through the stories of these 4 or 5 gentlemen, we'll be able to understand the topic of how we can be able to access funding for our company. So I'm going to start with Paul. You mentioned that you had experience in Silicon Valley, and you've been able to start up like a company. I know through that you've been able to secure like a very substantial amount of funding for your company. I'd like to ask you, what do investors investors specifically want to know about companies, the sticking points that they consider before they make their decisions to invest?
Yeah, I think it really varies per vertical, right? In our case, it was taking a look at the product market fit for each product that we wanted to build, because we didn't want to just build one product. When we looked at the Ghanaian market, we felt that software as a solution for a lot of companies were a bit lacking. And so people were building certain solutions for enterprise customers, but they were sort of acqui-hires, right? They were not standalone companies. And so for us, the thing that investors were looking for really was, will this product stick in the market? And I think the answer that I remember giving was, we want to build things that people love, but most importantly, we want people to interact with our company in a very specific way, and not just about a product, right? Because if you look at Uber, for instance, people love their product, but they hate the company. So they will say, this driver didn't show up, or this happened, and they'll blame it on the product itself, but it has nothing to do with, the company, right? And so the answer that I'll give more specifically is, does the company or the product has a market fit for that specific market that they want to have an entry in? And for us, we took our investors to every single customer meeting that we had, so they understood what the needs for these customers were.
Okay. Okay, that's wonderful. So, Kane, I know you have also been able to like acquire some amount of like investment for your company. I know it hasn't been like an easy path for you. Could you describe, like based on what you said, like some of the challenges that you faced in getting investments for your company?
So tech in Ghana now is a bit different. Back when we started in 2010, tech in Ghana wasn't like this. Now there is events, conferences. It's much easier to really do tech now. Back in those days, nobody even knew what an app was or where you want to go with. And when you are 21, 22, and you want to start a company, it seems so crazy. And when you are drop out like me too, then it's still the case at Accra. So it becomes a more difficult challenge. So we didn't raise funding until our fifth year. So we had to bootstrap the company for 5 good years. So we became cash positive. And for those who put money in us, they knew that, so that we were able to make money without funding. So through that, we were able to structure our business, get our books in order, get our figures in order, get our accounts in order, so that we are a viable business, we have a profitable division that we are building. So we have enough free cash flow to invest in other areas that we want to experiment in. It was through that we were able to seek the funding. And we even started seeking funding because we wanted to scale the business from where we're building now to the things we really want to do in the long term. And it was through that we were able to structure our business well that we had 2 local investors that currently back us to do what we are currently seeking to do.
Okay, so to like pick out of that, you only got the funding after you became cash positive and were making money.
Yes. So we only got it. When we first of seeking funding, that was in our 4th year as a business. We didn't get the funding until our 5th year, and those who put money in us wanted to know that we were cash positive. We're not like a company we're not like the Silicon Valley company. So we raised the money and built a product, but we actually had a business thriving with cash flow there before they started to put the money.
Oh, okay, that's wonderful. For like Nelson, the question I'd like to ask is that, considering your experience and like what you do like currently, what would it take for like a company to be mentioned as they are like investment ready?
Right.
And how could they get to that stage?
Okay, so quite a number of things come in when you're talking about investment. And the first point I'll make is that cash goes where cash can flow. If I'm coming to you as an investor and I would like to see your story, it means what have you done since you started. You normally hear, I have this idea and I can do this, I can do that. But people would like to see what can you do, what have you done beyond that beautiful idea? Because everybody or anyone can have an idea. So your traction becomes quite a critical tool for you to be able to convince an investor. But we have what is called investment checklist, and it comes down to about 4 key drivers. We have what is called the people, we have the opportunity, we have the deal, and the system. So if it comes to the people, I would like to see who is the key person behind, or who is the promoter behind this particular business. And beyond the person, what kind of team is there in place? I mean, does this dream or this project live beyond one person? Now, in the opportunity, we would like to see, is there market opportunity for this kind of solution? Does it work? I mean, what is the industry level for what you're trying to do and what is required? Do you really have what is called a sustainable customer base and a profitable customer base to make money from this solution? I'm basically just touching on all of this because of time. And beyond the opportunity, we have the deal. If I put my money in as an investor, can my money come back to me? So investment could at a point be like marriage, where you go in because of what you want, but here is a timeline. I could give myself 5 years. I want to exit this business in 5 years. Can you prove to me that in 5 years could make enough to pay the kind of returns I want for me to exit from your business? And in a country where you don't have a very vibrant stock market at the moment, people would like to see more of cash coming through the business, more of profitability, to prove that they can get the money out when they want to exit the business. And finally, the systems. What kind of systems are you building? And could you prove that these are systems that go beyond you, the founder or the co-founder? Are you the same person who makes the decisions, who signs the checks, who makes the report, who does everything? Or there are structures in place that would show that things could really be done? If you don't have them now, Are you willing to make room for some of these things to be brought on board if an investor is coming on? And these are some of the key things that anybody would like to see in place before they go the next step further in conversation on money.
Okay, that's wonderful. Mr. Fiajo,
Yeah.
so based on your experience, what would you say are some of the like areas for like opportunities for tech companies? Since in Ghana, our tech company is like nascent and growing, but the established like companies are the non-tech companies. What are some of the opportunities that tech companies can have to sort of solve problems for the non-tech companies?
Okay, so what I've realized over the years is that there are a number of companies out there who are doing very well and who have the opportunity to scale, but don't have technology backing the businesses that they run. Okay, so you can take health companies, for example. BISA is an excellent example. There's a need for health services to be provided across the country. Okay, BISA has come in, has this app, and it gives us the opportunity to have health services available to a lot of people. You find that fintech is also growing. It's also an area that has come up strongly. You now have regulations coming in place to guide the transactions that are going on. So there are quite a number of areas in there. Even in retail, you find out that there are companies that have come up that are doing retail online shopping for even groceries. Okay, now the question is this. If you set up a business, a non-tech company, and you want tech to come in, usually because of the investment size, you are looking at, if you say you want 100,000, for example, the investor is going to ask you, how much am I going to make within a certain period of time? Time is critical for the investor. They need to understand that when I invest in your business, the outcomes or the time frame that I need to recoup my investment is attractive enough. So there are opportunities out there. It's a question of let's find the most efficient technology that we can put behind businesses to make them succeed. And there are quite a number of opportunities out there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fiajo. So I'm going to cycle back to Paul and Kane. Since you've walked the hard path of trying to get like investments, what for Paul, what would be the number one thing that you'd advise if like there's a young company here who wanted to seek like investment? What would be the number one thing that you would advise them to take their boxes on to be able to be more successful to get investments?
I think for me, the most important thing is done is better than perfect, right? You can waste so much time trying to, perfect this product that you have. Meanwhile, your competitors are sort of, going by. And so it doesn't have to be necessarily perfect. But the most important thing, too, is to make sure that every single KPI metrics you have an idea of. There's been a few times I've had conversations with CEOs that will say something like, my CTO, my marketing person has this data, and I think that shouldn't really happen. So for you as a CEO, you need to actually understand every single operational metric prior to going in front of an investor.
Okay, for Kane, would you add to that?
So for me, I think that for tech in particular, people rush too much in the sense that most people forget that the product they are building, which is probably an app or anything, is just a product. But building a business, building a company goes beyond building just the app or the product. So they really have to build the business. So for it to be investment ready or for it to really be attractive as a young company coming up, you have to understand building the business and building the product. Building a business is structures, managerial, operations. All those things need to be in place first before you can really stand up to say you are a business or you are a company. But most people, because it's fully fueled by devs, they just build an app out there and want to use the app to get funding, which obviously won't come through. Most people have their business registration structures messed up. They have their cap table messed up. People even don't have cap tables until an investor want to come in. And all those things don't make you investment ready or doesn't make you look attractive. So the first thing you have to do is you have to make sure that you set up the business before the product, rather than build the product before you set up the business.
The business. Okay, thank you very much, Kane. I'm going to jump to Nelson for the last question. So I'm sure there are many times that people may ask, okay, I have my business, I have this idea, where can I get the funding? How do I get the funding? Could you give us an idea of the sources of of funding that are available to either like a startup or or like a new company?
Right. So, I mean, before I do that, let me just make a quick comment, just basically to tie into what Paul and everyone else said. You normally hear this, then have a beautiful app. I mean, it can do this, it can move that from here to that. But the key question, what is the business behind that solution? And that is one thing that I notice in my convo with a lot of these techpreneurs. It doesn't always come clear. What is the business behind that solution? And I think until we're able to really crack that part of the conversation, it becomes difficult to get any investor committed or interested in really talking to you. So that is one key thing I would like to really emphasize again. We need to be able to answer what's the business model? How do you make money? How do you spend money? Until we really get some of these things answered, we cannot. Now, in terms of where to get money, it depends on the level or the phase of the business. So if you're now starting as an idea phase, you would normally see you committing your own resources quite a lot. Once you begin to move beyond just an idea, you're likely to sometimes get a bit of friends, families, and what we call fools. Coming early stage to give some money to what you do. And once you move beyond that idea, possibly to pilot, and beyond pilot, you could get some angels coming in. Interestingly, just as you have entrepreneurs crying that there's no money, you have investors also saying there's no deals to put their money in. So there's that kind of dichotomy, and you don't know which of them really you want to balance. And I see it's more like you don't have the two players speaking the same language. So investors have what they're looking for, and it's not easy to get them at a very early stage. So you need to possibly go through that cycle of self-funding, friends, families, fools, an angel investor, and then eventually may want to start looking at a point where you might be able to attract some of these grants, funding competitions like IPA. Surprisingly, no Ghanaian has ever won IPA, since it began. But there are quite a number of competitions out there which, if you're able to prove your model, you could be able to get some. And after really building a story, sometimes 24 months, 36 months, then you could actually convince an institutional investor who may now come on, so I'm going to invest this much for this. But even at that point, there is that challenge I'm seeing now where, because of what we're reading a lot, it's quite a global village now, so we know about Silicon Valley and what is happening there. We try to use that place as a yardstick sometimes in defining what our businesses are worth. So now we actually see what was then seed funding becoming pre-seed. But in Ghana, what is pre-seed in Silicon Valley could be like somebody's Series A or even a seed round. We do quite some wrong analysis, and I would say this kind of company is like what I'm doing, and they're able to raise $500,000 for just 5% equity. So in my business, that's almost like what they do. I should be able to raise the same $500,000 for like 5 to 10% equity. And I think there's quite a lot of understanding we all need to do in the ecosystem to be able to really pull in the right kind of funds. Critically, any investor in Ghana has a lot of options. Worst case, I can put my money in T-bill and get double digits. End of year, no sweat. So if I'm going to put that same money in your business, I should be able to measure the returns in about 3 to 5 years for one to exit and see how you can do that for me. And until we're able to really get that kind of conversation going and measure the actual returns over time, issues on valuations and co become quite a difficult challenge. So there are quite a number of sources out there, but you need to really go through the process, go through the mill to be able to become attractive to them.
Okay, thank you very much, Nelson. So finally, for free, since you've been involved in business development, I just want to pick your brains on, also for you, the top thing that you tell any up-and-coming business, if you'd like to polish on what anybody has said or add something new to it.
Yes, for me, the key thing is the market, the addressable market. So whether it's a product, whether it's a service, whether it's a solution, call it whatever. What is the market? Okay, if I don't have a market or a market that I can serve with my product or service, it becomes difficult to sell. It becomes difficult to attract investors, and even becomes difficult for me as a business development person. Okay, because yes, some investor may say, well, let's give it a try. They put money into the business, and you can't find anybody to use your service or to buy your product. That is difficult. That's the most painful part of your idea. going waste. So for us, we always say, look for the addressable market. Look for the market which you can anchor your business ideas on. Once you have that in place, you can now go ahead, develop your products, seek investment, and you should be fine. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Fui. At this point, we'd like to take questions from the audience. If anybody's has a question to be able to ask. The gentleman in the... Hello.
Yeah, thank you.
Could we get another mic, please?
All right, sorry about that. So quick question on the addressable market. I mean, it's easy to say, for example, I'm addressing all the youth in Ghana between X and Y ages, right? And I have this product service solution that on the face of it looks like it will address them. It will meet some need that they have. But I think the question of addressable market is not only whether from looking, it seems obvious. Sometimes you actually have to put it out there, test to get a better sense of what the actual market would be, right? So how do you, how fine do you want to get and how accurate do you want to get the addressable market defined before, say, you take the plunge with somebody?
Yeah, Fui, go ahead.
Okay. You're not likely to get 100% of the addressable market that you have in mind. So it's a question of refining the product or the service, piloting with a few people, and making sure that indeed there's a need. Okay, so out of the addressable market, you'll be able to find what the need is, and you will probably even be able to identify a need that you didn't think about, okay, which may give you close to what you are looking at as an addressable market. The addressable market is mainly for your numbers. Okay, so you have an addressable market of, say, the youth between 12 and 18. I don't know what the numbers are, but if you say 2 million, out of that 2 million, even if I shot 50%, what is the rate of return or the investment return within a certain period of time? Once you have that and it looks good, you are able to attract investors on board. Yeah. Okay. So definitely not 100%. I mean, but yeah. Okay.
Do you have any other question? Or would the panel like to ask bounce questions like of each other?
Just to chip into David's question. Every business plan looks good until you execute it. So I would say some of those things that we put in documents and plans and talking about 1 million customer size and all of that, it doesn't always appeal to investors at this stage now because they would like to see what have you done. So typically I would say, what is the persona of your customer? Can you give a profile of your typical customer? Have you spoken to them? Have you tried to really engage them to see what their needs are? And do you actually want to wait to finish your final product before you try to engage this customer? Or you might want to engage them in phases. I mean, there are all kinds of concepts that you may want to adopt through the process of product development. Can you engage them and come back with feedback and say, at this stage I engaged 100 customers, and this is what I had, this is a response to it, this is a feedback they had, and based on the feedback, I've been able to really improve on my product and done ABC. And if you're able to really prove some of these things, it sells much more than your TAM or your SAM or all those kind of concepts that we put in there, business plans.
Thank you very much, Nelson.
Yeah.